This is Vasant here, and I'm a product expert from Zoho Books. So I've been working with the Zoho Books product application for more than 4+ years. So the agenda of today's meeting for me is to give you an overview on what Zoho Books as a platform could do for your business on an accounting side, which is on back office operations, and what benefits you'll be getting with integrating with CRM if you're already using a Zoho CRM platform. So I'll be able to just share my screen with you, and probably we'll just see how Zoho Books works. So could any of you just give me a thumbs up or something if my screen is visible before we start ahead? Is everyone able to? Perfect. Okay. So basically, as I mentioned, Zoho Books is a cloud-based online accounting platform using which you can have a simplified format of tracking your receivables, payables, and following to that, you can connect your bank and credit card accounts with automatic feeds for your reconciliations. You can set up budgets for your business, and following to that, you'll also be able to collect online payments and make online payments to your customers and vendors respectively. And following to all that, you'll be able to simply pull out various insights and financial reports in detail. Today's agenda will be about knowing what Zoho Books is, and we'll also see some interesting features that we have in the application. And following to that, the benefits you get with integrating CRM and pulling out the reports. When we talk about the key features here on Zoho Books, before we jump into the product, as Janaki mentioned, since it's an accounting platform, we'll have certain tax regulations in place. So each country will have its own taxations, and each country will have its own payment gateway systems through which you'll be engaging with your customers and receiving and making payments. So these are the two divisions where you'll see differences in using Zoho Books. But apart from it, the rest of all the features that we are going to talk about today is going to be unified across globe. So if you've got any specific questions on taxations in any specific part, I'll be able to address you to a certain extent. And if not, probably we can have it checked with the respective department teams, and we'll follow up with you over an update over an email. So let's quickly jump into the system. So primarily, when we talk about Zoho Books, initially you'll be signing up over here using a sign up link where you'll be registering your company details, your email ID, and the country for which your business needs to be operated. So based on the business location you pick, the edition is going to be determined. For example, if your business is located in US, so once you pick your business location as United States, you'll be able to operate US edition of Zoho Books aligning to the US taxation. The base currency is going to be in USD. And yes, Zoho Books will also support you with multi-currency transaction handlings as well. Now, once you sign up to Zoho Books, the key features, or before we jump into the features, the basic setup process is about setting up your organization profile with your company informations. What kind of report base are you planning to approach? Is it accrual or cash? And next is about setting up your taxes, inviting your accountants and your employees, building your chart of accounts, registering your opening balances, and fetching in your products, customers, and vendors. This is the master data that needs to be set up basically in Zoho Books before you initiate any receivable and payable transactions. Now, let's dive into the product screen and see how these features and the setup works. So as I mentioned, once you initially log into books.zoho.com, the very first page that you will land will be the organization profile. So you'll update your company's name, logo, the type of industry you're involved in, and your business location. So based on the informations you feed here, these informations will get printed in all your transaction PDFs and emails that you shoot out from the system. And you also have an option to set up your own default report base in which all your financial reports and tax dues will be generated. Accrual will generate you the financial reports based on the date of your invoices, and cash-based reports are generated based on the date of your payments. As the profile of your company is set up, the next is all about configuring the taxes for your business. And again, to align, when you operate US edition of books, you will have an indirect tax operation, which is sales tax. So if you are from Middle East, you will have corporate taxes and VAT in place. Similarly, for UK, you'll have HMRC and VAT handling. And when it comes to India, you'll have GSTs and so on. So each region is going to have its unique taxations to follow. And with US edition and specific, you will have the sales tax tracking available here. So you can feed in the tax details where you can mention the name of the tax, the rate percentage, and the authority to which it needs to get reported to. These authorities can be created from your tax authorities section, where you can feed in the name of the authority and the state to which it needs to get reported to. So when these taxes are configured, you can now apply these tax details in the transaction level when you invoice your customers or your clients for sale, and you can collect the respective tax amounts accordingly. But apart from handling these tax setup manually, if you prefer to rely on tax automation, you can rely on Avalara. So Avalara is a third-party integration which will allow you to automatically fetch the tax information based on your customer's billing address. So you can create an account with Avalara, and once you integrate your Zoho Books account with Avalara, based on your customer's billing address, the system itself will automatically fetch you a tax code using which you can collect the tax amount from your customer. This even comes into handy where when you have certain tax regulations and changes happening, that percentage of taxes that needs to be charged would also differ for every fiscal years. In such scenarios, instead of manually updating these tax rates, Avalara will fetch you the real-time tax codes with any updations and changes that is happening on county levels or on state levels respectively. In case if you're going to handle any non-taxable business with your client, you can simply create tax exemptions so that the entire invoicing that you do will be 100% non-taxable. So as these taxes are configured, the next is all about inviting your accountants and employees into the system, for which you can jump to the users and roles. So you can now invite your employees and accountants, mentioning their name, email ID, and the role that you'd like to provide to them. Based on the role that you offer, they will have access to your financial informations. If you prefer to create your own customizable roles, you can just switch to the roles tab, click the new role button, and you can basically enable and disable the permissions that you would like to provide and revoke. Based on the permissions you set, your employees and accountants will have access to your financial data. And if you even want a specific employee to access and handle only certain customer data alone, we do have the provision available where you can allow the users to handle the data and transactions for the assigned customers alone. And in case if you're going to collect any personal informations, or in other words, a protected data or a PII data, so you can also restrict the users from not accessing that informations, and it will not be brought to their visibility if the access is revoked. So this way, the users can be set up with extensive permissions you want. And once the users are all being set up, as you start generating your invoices or when you manage any payable activities, if these transactions are being unpaid or if it is not settled yet, you can either send out a manual reminder or you can also configure automated reminders you want. Multiple reminders can be set up with different due dates that you prefer, and the reminders can be sent before an invoice due date or if the invoice is already overdue as well. The reminder email can have the invoice information, outstanding balance, overdue details, and a payment link provided with it, using which your customers can simply make online payments. And you also have the complete customization on how a PDF template or the email should be displayed to your clients. So you have the complete control to hide and display the fields you want, rename the fields you prefer, build your own templates using HTML even if needed. So all this is possible, and you can also build your own custom fields if you prefer, and that can be made customizable in the template section. Apart from all that, you also have an option to integrate with different payment gateways through which you can collect payments, be it through credit cards or ACH. So the list of payment gateways that we support here are Stripe, Square, Forte, Authorize.net, Braintree, PayPal, To Checkout, and the list goes. You can integrate with any of these payment gateways to collect online payments from your customers. And if you specifically prefer to collect ACH payments, which allows your customers can to just do a bank-to-bank transfers, you can integrate with Stripe, Forte, and Authorize.net. So apart from managing your customer payments, if you're going to make some purchase of a property and if you're going to settle any payments to your vendor, You can integrate with Forte that would allow you to process ACH payments to your vendor's bank account directly from Zoho Books. Now, as the basic setup of the company is completed, the next is about heading on to your accountant module and creating your chart of accounts. So by default, we'll be providing you.
Vasant, we'll just pause for a second, understand if anybody wants us to repeat.
Sure.
Are we okay with the speed? Is it clear so far? Cool. Sounds good. Okay, go ahead, Vasant. Thank you.
Okay. So now we are going to talk about the GL mapping here, where you might have an option to create your parent and sub accounts, and you'll have an option to build your own chart of accounts using which you can track your assets, you can track your incomes, expenses, on any entries that you post in the system. So chart of accounts is a place where you'll be creating all your GL accounts, where you can either use the existing accounts that Zoho Books provides you. If not, you can also import your existing data that you have from your previous platform into Zoho Books. Where when we talk about data import here, it can be imported in CSV, TSV, and Excel formats. And we have also given you a sample file format for your reference so that you can make sure that you import your data as per the sample file standards. Apart from this, the chart of accounts can also be manually created. So you can pick your required account type you need. It could be an asset, liability, equities, income, or expenses. So you can pick the relevant account type and you can simply create your own parent accounts within the entry. And you can also assign an account number to every chart of account that you create, so that later you can search for an account or you can sort your reports based on these account numbers. Once the chart of accounts are created, you can also set up budgets for your business. So when you go to your budgets module, you can simply create monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and yearly budgets. And these budgets can be allotted to specific chart of accounts you want or to all the chart of accounts in general. So once you initiate your budgeting, let's say I'm going to create a budget for 2024. And when we create your budgeting, you have the option to allocate budget for each chart of account for different periods of time. So you can either pre-fill from your previous year's actual data. If not, you can also revise the budgeting and you can update the budget for respective periods of each GL account. Now, when this budget is created, you'll now be able to compare these budgets with the actual transactions that you post. You'll be taken to the report page where you can find the budget that you have set, the actual transactions that you have posted against all these GL accounts. And with this comparison, the system will provide you the result if it has been an over budget or under budget with the percentage based results as well. All these informations can directly be exported in PDF and Excel formats. You can print the reports or share the reports with other users you want with selective permissions. So this is all about setting up your chart of accounts and budgeting. Okay, buddy. So now we are done with setting up our company's basic setup and we are done with setting up our chart of accounts and budgets. Now let's talk about how to migrate the data if you're going to use a different platform, say QuickBooks or any X platforms in place. So if you hold historical data that needs to be brought into Zoho Books to continue the accounting here, there are two recommendations or there are two processes to handle it. One is to just bring in the opening balance alone. So you run your trial balance report in your previous software, you get the closing balance, and you just go to your Zoho Book settings, opening balances, and you just set up your migration date and you bring in the opening balance data where you will post it in the debit or credit fields accordingly. So this is one way of handling your migration where you just bring in the opening balances alone, which can be posted against relevant GL accounts you prefer by inputting the right migration date. Later, you can run the trial balance report in both Zoho Books and your previous platform to cross verify if the balances are tallied. In case if you prefer to go another way around, bringing all your historical data from your previous system into Zoho Books, then it will be an export and import process where once you export your data from previous system, you'll have to just go to each module of Zoho Books and import the data. If it is customers, you'll go to the customers module. If it is expenses, you'll go to the expenses module. If it is payments, you'll go to the payments module, respectively. The UI of the platform is just the same when you access any module. So you click the three dot button and you'll find the import and export options available. So you can proceed with importing your data in CSV, TSV, and Excel. And we have also given a sample file for your reference to ensure that you import your data successfully as per the sample file standards. So these are the two ways of bringing in your data. One is through opening balance. The other is bringing your historical data by importing the relevant data in each module separately. Now, as the account setup is done, the next is all about setting up your customers. But before we talk about setting up your customers, let's talk about the unified process you get with the integrations as well. So there is a topic or there is a subject where we speak more on front and back office operations, where front office operations are taken care through CRM. So your company salespeople pushes a lead, you try maximum to convert them to a client, and you handle the payments and settlements. Following to that, you'll have various deals that you'll associate or link with that particular customers when you do a business. Whereas when we talk about the back office operations here, the picture is completely different. So you'll have to have your accountants and you'll have to have your team to follow up on regular payments. Reminders should be sent out, pulling out your sales data to know how your business is performing, reconciling, managing your taxes. So both these platforms are going to do entirely a different task, but only when they are integrated, you're going to have a grip or you're going to have some gaps that needs to be addressed. The challenges that you will face when you're going to have both Zoho Books and Zoho CRM without integration is limited data visibility in the very first place. Where when a salespeople, when they create an invoice, they'll not have an idea if the payments are being followed up or if the payments are being settled, if they're going to use a payment gateways here to handle such payments. Second, if there is going to be a disintegration between books and CRM, you're going to have a reduced operational efficiency, and the extension of the sales cycle is going to take you a longer period of time to close. Whereas when you integrate your Zoho Books and Zoho CRM, you're going to see a strategic growth where you'll have the grip on what is the total sale that is happening, where the data sync is going to be seamless. And this integration gives you a benefit of automatic data sync, right from contacts, vendors, products, transactions, and deals. So you're going to have an automatic data sync between these two platforms so that you will see a faster sales cycle, and following to that, you'll have an operational efficiency. And moreover, you will have a centralized customer and financial data, streamlining your entire invoicing process. Now, when we talk about this approach, basically, you can go to your Zoho Book settings, Zoho apps, and you can integrate your Zoho Books with your Zoho CRM account. So once you integrate Zoho Books and Zoho CRM, your customer information that you have in Zoho CRM can be synced into Zoho Books. Similarly, the vendors that you have in CRM can be synced into Books, and so is your products as well. All these modules will have a two-way sync available, and you have the complete control if it needs to be synced in one way or two-way, and how the duplicates needs to be handled if there is any. So you can either have it cloned, or you can overwrite it, or you can skip the record. When it comes to customer, vendor, and product informations, the record that you have in Zoho CRM will be your master data, where you can overwrite or update the informations, which will get synced with that updated record in your books system. And following to that, you will also have a complete control to sync only a specific set of customers, where you can create a view in CRM and you can just map that particular view so that the customers that fall under that particular view in CRM alone will be synced into books for you. So this way, the books and CRM integrations will work, and you can either sync just your accounts from CRM or your contacts or both accounts and contacts. So if you see the stream mapping here, the accounts will be synced as customers in Zoho Books, and the contacts that are associated to the account will be synced as contact persons in Zoho Books for you. The transactions will be created under the primary customer that we talk about. Now, apart from contact sync, you'll also have an option to integrate your vendors and products. And apart from all this, you will have an option to set up two-way sync, which will happen every 2 hours once, where the data will sync from books to CRM and from CRM to books. If you even need to perform a manual sync, you can simply click on the instant sync button that allows you to instantly sync any updated or created records from CRM to books and vice versa. And you'll have a benefit of integrating Zoho Finance module in your CRM section, where when all these three modules are enabled with two-way sync, you will see a separate module called Zoho Finance module that gets created in your CRM system, under which you can create quotations, invoices, sales and purchase orders if needed, and you can track your payments directly from there for those invoices that you create. You can also link your deals, that is your potentials, where you can either automate it based on your deal status. So when a deal is created, you can have the system to automatically create an estimate here. So it works on stage by stage basis. And when your quotation is accepted, you can have the system to automatically convert that accepted estimate. And based on every stage that your deal goes through, the quotation can be automatically updated and created as for. Similarly, when it comes to invoicing, you can have the system to automatically create an invoice whenever a deal is won. And whenever a deal is being lost, you can have the system to automatically void that invoice, which will cancel the receivables. So this way, you can automate the process of data sync right from contacts, vendors, and products. The transaction sync can be unified, where the salespeople can access it from either of the platforms. They can track the payments, send out multiple reminders on automated formats to collect the payments on time. And you can also restrict the users to manage the finance module with specific roles that you have created in CRM. So based on the permissions you set, those respective users alone will have access to that Zoho Finance module that gets created. So this is how the books and CRM integration works. Now let's jump into the customers module. So as I mentioned, you can either sync your existing customer records that you have from CRM into books. If not, you can carry out with import, or you can just manually create them. So when you set up your customer records, you can simply feed in the basic details that are asked, starting with company name, email, contact number, address records. Create your own custom fields to collect any additional information you want. You can use reporting tag to tag every contacts or every transactions you generate, so that various financial reports can be pulled out in specific to the tag you want. Added to that, you will have an option to map a default tax rate in the customer level, so that whenever a transaction is created, the system itself will automatically pull this tax rate, so that you can simply collect the tax amount from the customers. And we also have an option to provide client portals to your customers, where they can log into the portal and they'll be able to simply view all their outstanding balances that needs to be settled, or any credits that they hold. Or you can also upload your property documents, which can be shared from both the ends. And if you prefer to collect their signatures, which can act as a legal proof in the upfront, you can make use of Zoho Sign integrations that we provide, where you can go to your settings and you can just go to your Zoho app section, and you can integrate Zoho Sign with Zoho Books. So when you integrate Zoho Books and Zoho Sign, you'll be able to collect signatures for every quotation that you send out, where the signatures from your customers will be tracked and registered in the transaction PDF. And your staffs can also sign the transactions before they send out to your customers. Similarly, the signatures can also be managed on invoices as well, and any purchase entries that you manage. So this comes into picture when you use Books and Zoho Sign. Now, once the customer profile is created, as I mentioned, you'll have a client portal, which is more of an interactive platform where customers can access all the transactions that are being created. So you can simply have a track of all the transactions that are generated. They can make the payments from the portal directly for you. And if they've got any questions regarding the invoicing that you have registered, so they can just make a comment, and which will just be displayed as a notification and a registered comment in the respective transaction itself. And following to all that, you'll also be able to simply generate, that is, your customers can simply generate various customer statements that would show the total outstanding balances that needs to be settled, the payments and refunds that are being managed, and they can also rate the services that you have provided. And if they prefer to contact you, they will have the company information available from the portal, using which they can engage with you. And these documents that you upload or you collect from your customers can simply be attached in the customer's module directly, and it can be made visible or accessible for them to access later from the portals as well. So this is how the client portal works, where you'll have a similar portal for your vendors as well if needed. Now, when you set up your customers, basically, when you start creating your invoices, and if they are going to be in unpaid status, the system is going to track them in the outstanding receivables. And if you prefer to collect any advance payments, which can act as an initial deposit before you sell that property out, you can make use of retainer invoices that would allow you to collect any advance payments from your customers. So you can mention the property details and you can attach any documents that are needed, and you can simply collect the advance amount that is needed through a credit card or ACH payments. When this retainer is sent out, your customer can make a payment, and this payment will be tracked as advance as unused credits in the customer's module, so that you can later use those credits to settle the invoices that you generate later for them. And your customer can just make a payment for the left out invoice balance. When we talk about invoicing here, I'm not sure if most would be preferring to create invoices being in real estates. But if invoices is needed, you can pick your customers and you can set up your own payment term based on which the due date is going to get created for the customer. You can map a salesperson in every invoice that you operate, so that you can later pull out a sales based salesperson report. And we can also write you an automation that could help you with tracking sales commission for every invoicing and payments that are being managed. So you can add the property informations that can be created as items here, or you can also just mention them on go. So you can feed in the property rate and the tax that you're looking to charge for that particular property registrations. And you can upload the documents relevant to that particular property, and you can collect online payments. You can also receive partial payments if you prefer for the invoices that you generate. Now, as these invoices are created, the system will now send out timely reminders for any outstanding invoice payments, where you can either send out a manual reminder or the system will take care of sending up follow-up reminders based on the due date. You can also charge your customer from your end. If not, when your customer makes an online payment, the system is going to automatically create a payment entry. We also have an activity logs report for your audit purposes, where the system will track every transaction activity with date and time and the user who performed it. So you can run your activity logs report to know the date of transaction creation or any updations or deletions that have been taken place in the system. And when a transaction is being posted, you can simply find a journal entry that gets displayed against every transaction PDF. So you'll have a debit and credit column available, where the system will show you the GL entries that gets accounted for every transactions that are generated, be it invoices or any payable entries or payments respectively. All the payments that you collect from your customers will be tracked in the payments received module, and these payment receipts can be emailed to your customers, and eventually on online payment, a payment receipt is going to be automatically sent out. You'll also have a journal entry again for this, and if it is an online payment, you'll have the information of bank or card details through which those payments have been handled out. So this is how the sales cycle will be carried out. But there is an additional benefit over here, where when you use Zoho Books and Zoho CRM, so you'll have an option to simply link your potentials or the deals that you create. So when you go ahead and when you raise an invoice transaction, you pick your customer, and you will have an option over here called CRM action, using which you can associate any potentials that you have created for that particular client. So you'll have different potentials that you can create, where those deals can simply be linked to the invoice transactions that you generate, and the payments can be carried out. The cycle could also be carried starting from CRM as well. So you can create a lead here, where let's say it's going to be Zilka Dep. So you can just give a name, let's say James Roney. I'm just going to create a custom. So when such a lead is created, you can now simply convert this lead to an account and contact, following which deals can be generated, and you can use these deals to link it to the transactions that you create in Zoho Books. So when these accounts and contacts are created, eventually these customers are going to be reflected in Zoho Books, for whom the invoicing can be managed. And the deal that you create here will also be made visible for you to link it with the invoices that you create over there. So with books and CRM integrations in place, the lead can be taken care by the salespeople, where the lead gets converted to an account or contact, and these information will later be pushed to the backend system, which is Zoho Books, and the invoicing can then be carried out through CRM directly under the finance module, or you can use the Zoho Books invoices module to generate transactions by linking it with the relevant deal that has been generated. So this is how the books and CRM interface would also work when it comes to invoicing perspective. And added to that, you'll also have an option to track the payment statuses right through Zoho CRM itself, where the users can know the status of every invoices that are being generated for every transactions that are being created out. And added to all that, you'll have an unified customer information both in CRM and books when these two platforms are integrated. So the records can be created from one end, which will be pushed automatically to another end by the system, and the financial management can be carried forward by both the departments, be it your accounting department or by the sales department, when it comes to following with payments or with reconciliations or generating of financial reports. So this is the sales cycle. So there is one catch here. If you're not going to create any invoices, you can just go ahead and connect your bank and credit cards, where you can go to your banking module. You just connect your bank and credit card accounts, where you click on connect now, and you will have two different banking providers for us, and token comes into picture if you're going to use or have your business in EU domain or an EU region. So you can just pick either of the service providers you prefer, and you can proceed with connecting your bank and credit cards you want. So once you proceed further, you can search for the bank account or the credit card account that you're looking for, and the system will then allow you to complete the integrations by feeding in your login credentials. So it will take you to the bank insight, where you can just input your login credentials, log into your bank, and complete the integration. When your bank and the credit card accounts are connected, the system is going to automatically sync your day-to-day transactions into Zoho Books every 24 hours once. And if needed, it can also automatically sync your last 90 days of transactions. If you're planning to bring in any transactions prior to that 90 days, you can click the gear icon and you can import those transactions in bulk, where you can import your bank transactions in CSV, TSV, Excel, and the other different formats given. And you can also just download the sample file for your reference, so that you can make sure that you import your data as per the sample file standards. Now, when all these bank transactions are available, be it deposits or withdrawal, you can click on the respective deposit, and you can either match it with the customer payments that you have created before. If you are not going to create any invoices, you can directly go ahead and categorize them as a sales without invoice entry. You can pick your GL account you want. It could be a parent account or a sub account that you create, and you can just pick the relevant GL account you want, and you can simply post your categorization deposits. Similarly, if there is a withdrawal feed, you can click on your withdrawals, and you can either match it with any of the expenses that you have posted or payments that you have done. If not, you can directly go ahead and categorize them under the relevant category you prefer. So this way, the match and categorizations can be carried out. And when you perform this action manually, if you want this to be automated, we can make use of transaction rules to achieve it, where you can set up a rule based on amount, description, reference numbers, or payee details. So based on the given condition, when the bank transaction syncs into Zoho Books, if it meets the rule criteria that you have set up, the system itself will automatically categorize it as your expense or your income to the specific GL account you map. You will be able to create up to 800 transaction rules for each bank and credit cards that you set up. So you can allow the system to automate this categorization on your behalf, where the system will post the entries from your bank to the specific GL account that you have mapped. So this is how the bank integrations work when it comes to tracking your deposits and withdrawals. And this could also be used if you're not going to post any invoice entries, where the deposits can directly be registered to your revenue accounts you want. And at last, you'll do your reconciliation to make sure that the amount you have recorded in Zoho Books tallies with your real-time balance that you find in your bank insight. And the reconciliations can be flexibly done for any date periods you prefer, with start and the closing balance for the selected periods. So when you initiate your reconciliations, you will be able to see the list of transactions being auto-selected, where if you have already matched or categorized, you will find those transactions auto-selected, which you can just review them and ensure that the difference is brought to zero so that you can complete your reconciliation. So this is on the banking part when it comes to doing your reconciliations, matching and categorizing your check entries or vendor payments or customer payments respectively. So as we are done with the receivables part, the next is all about managing your purchases, where you'll have a simpler format where you can either sync your vendor informations from CRM, or you can import your historical vendor records from your previous system, or you can just manually feed in the vendor records. So you can feed in their details starting with company, email ID, contact number, the currency in which you prefer to manage the transactions. Zoho Books does support you with multi-currency, where you can handle transactions in different currencies you prefer, and the exchange rate will be taken care by the system automatically for you. And you can also set up your own payment terms based on which the due date of the vendor transaction is going to get calculated. And with that said, once the vendor profile is created, you can now start creating your transactions, be it any payments that you'll have to settle to your vendor. So when you create a bill, and if that transaction is going to be in unpaid status, the system is going to track them in the outstanding payables for you. And similarly, if you've done any excess payments to the vendor, it'll get tracked in the unused credits section. Vendor statements can be generated for any required date period that you prefer. And these statements will display the bills, expenses, payments, and refunds that you have handled with that particular vendor. So you can now create a bill to record any purchase of properties or any payments that you're looking to make to your particular vendor. And when we talk about bill payments here, you will have an option to either print a check, or you can also do an ACH payment for the bills that you create. You have the complete control to choose your own GL account you prefer, be it an asset or an expense account, based on how you prefer to track it, and the bill can be generated. Once this bill is created, you can either initiate an ACH payment with the help of Forte integration. If not, you can also print a check directly from Zoho Books, where once you print a check, the status of the bill is going to be marked as paid, and you will be able to find that particular check in the uncleared status. So you'll find them in the payments made module, where you'll have the check informations with your company name, your bank details, routing number, the bill information for which the check has been printed out. And only when you match your bank transaction to this uncleared check, the check is going to get cleared. In case if the check is going to get bounced, or if there is some reason due to which the check needs to be cancelled, you can void that particular check, which will reverse the payment, and the bill will be updated as unpaid again, for which you can reprint a check or use a different mode of payments to settle them out. Apart from purchase activities or bill tracking, if you've got any operational expenses to do, say rent expenses or employee salaries or fuel expenses, just as a basic example, you can upload the receipt of your expense, which the system can scan and help you with transaction creation. Or you can also simply categorize it from the banking module, or you can also manually feed in the expense record with the amount that you have spent. You can also create a billable expense if you're going to spend some amount on behalf of your customer. And if you want to convert that to an invoice, you do have that provision available, where you can simply convert the expense itself to an invoice and get that amount reimbursed. So this way, the purchase activities comes into picture. And when all this is done, in case if you prefer to manage every property as a project, being a builder or being in real estate domains, if you prefer to manage every property as a separate project, you can make use of the time tracking module, where you can build your projects so that the invoicing can be done specific to that particular project, the expenses can be done specific to that particular project, and finally you can pull your P&L report or income statements based on that particular project, so that you can know the net profit and loss that you make from it. So let's take an example as project beta, and you will simply select your customer, and you will choose your billing method to be fixed cost. So you can enter the total value of that particular project, which you're going to invoice your customer for payment. You can also set up budgets if needed, the cost that you're expecting to spend, the revenue that you're expecting to make, and a project can be created. When such a project is created, you can now start logging your transaction entries. So you can send out quotations from here, you can invoice your customers, collect advance payments, post your expenses, generate bills to make any payments to your vendors you want. So all these transactions you create now will be tied to this particular project. So when you do so, you will now have a track of the total amount that you have billed to your customer, the total amount which is not yet invoiced, the total expenses that are being logged against that particular project. And when you run your profitability summary report for a set period, you can know the total revenues that you have made from that particular project. Where when you click on this drill down, it will route you to the respective report where you can know the total gross profit, operating profits, and the net profit and loss that you make from that particular project that you have worked on. It could be a property or any constructions that you have taken into work. So this way, the project management comes into picture, which you can use. And added to all that, during your tax filing periods, if you do not want any of your employees to modify your transaction records, you can make use of transaction locking, where you can lock each departments separately, or you can lock all the departments on hold. So once you initiate a transaction locking, you will be asked to choose a particular date, which means any transaction that you have created on or before this particular date cannot be modified by any users. And this transaction locking can be enabled or disabled by the admin user or by the user to whom the admin has provided the permissions. And at last, you will have a dedicated dashboard available that would show you the financial strength of your business. You can know the total receivables that you'll have to collect from your customers, the total payables that you'll have to settle to your vendors, the cash flow that is happening in your company on month basis. So it will take into the consideration of your bank, payment clearing, and cash accounts. You can also monitor the total incomes and expenses that your company manages and the top 6 expenses of your business as well. Just click on any of the report dashboard. It will route you to the respective financial reports where you can see the detailed informations of it. Generally, when you go to your reports module, you'll have more than 70 plus reports available in the system. So you can run profit and loss, cash flow, balance sheet, forecasting reports, sales related reports based on salesperson that helps you to track commissions, sales by item report, which you can use it for properties, sales by customer reports are available. You can run receivable, unpayable reports if you're going to manage any invoicing so that you can track your customer and vendor balances with aging information. Detailed transaction and its payment reports are available. You can run tax related reports where you can know the total tax amount that you owe to every authority that you have dealt with. And you can also know the total tax amount that you have collected from every single tax rates, the tax amount that you have collected from every customer, and the tax amount that you have collected from every single invoice that you have handled as well. The report gives you the detailed informations of the tax structure, and these informations can directly be exported in PDF, Excel, and CSV formats. You can also print the reports or share the reports with other users you want. Apart from that, you'll also have the ledgers, trial balance, journal report, account transactions report, activity logs for your audit purposes, reconciliation status report, and budget reports. So let's take a quick look, say profit and loss. So when you run any report in general, you have the option to customize that report, and you can run the reports for any custom date periods you prefer. The report that you generate can also be run in both accrual and cash basis, where accrual will generate you the report based on date of your invoice, and cash based reports are generated based on the date of your payments. When you run such a report, you can also pull the report with percentage based metrics as well. You can also run with year to date results if you prefer, and you can also run it and compare with different periods you prefer, where you can compare your last 35 years of your business or your last 35 months. And you can also just compare it with different projects you've worked. So where if you're going to manage your revenue streams by handling the projects, so you can simply set up multiple projects and the comparison of P&L can be done based on that as well. Now, when you run a report, The system is going to show you the individual running balance against each chart of account for different periods of time. So you can know their running balance for different periods. And following to that, you can know the gross profits that you make, the operating profits, and the net profit and loss of your business, which you can also compare it with different periods so that you can know the progressivity of your company. If you'd like to even drill down and check the individual transactions that has resulted in this total, you can simply click on that value, which will take you to the account transactions report, where you can find the debits and credits that are posted against that particular account and the type of transaction that was involved in it. All these reports can directly be exported in PDF and Excel formats. You can print the report, share the reports, or you can also have it scheduled so that you need not have to log into the system each time just to access a report. The system itself will automatically pull out a daily report, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports to the required email address you prefer in PDF, CSV, and Excel formats. And you can also run your balance sheets, which will give you the asset of your company, the liabilities and equities, or any investments that you have managed in your company that will get displayed for you when you run your balance sheet report, which can also be compared with different periods you prefer. And added to that, you'll have supportive ledgers and trial balance report that gives you the detailed line by line entries of every GL accounts that you have managed. So this is a briefer picture of what Zoho Books is in general.